Hello YouTube! I am Pinstar, and this is Startup Freak Strategy and Tactics Episode 1. So yeah, I know I just did a Pinstar plays of this, but I've been playing this game like crazy and have been developing a lot of new strategies for it and honing some builds. I've also been seeing some complaints and difficulties for some of the early adopters of this game about just being successful. And I'll admit, it took me a while to figure it out, to figure out what I was doing wrong. But today in this series, I will be explaining some of the source of your woes, more specifically with Churn, in a way that the game does not, in my opinion, adequately explain it. Because once you understand some of these aspects, you can adjust your play style accordingly and gain success. Right then, let's dive right in. Instar Productions. Now, regarding the build for your CEO here, my instinct in my original video was correct in that you should make your CEO development and design focused, with just a little bit of refinements here. My favorite build for him is a 6 development, a 3 design, and a 2 operations. The reason being is you, just throughout most of the game, you generally want development to be in a 2-to-1 ratio of design, or at least, at the very least, have more development than design. It's more important in the long run. That being said, we do need a modicum of design. Also, operations. By having a 2 operations, you can generally get away with not having to hire an operations person in your first office when space is very limited. So you can, but you need operations to research the thing that lets you get to bigger offices. So this helps diffuse the catch-22 of not having enough room for an ops person. But yeah, well, you get it from there. So a 2 operation skill will certainly not be wasted. Right then, let us dive right in. Now, one of the issues that confounds this game in the beginning is this forced tutorial. The fact that it blocks you off from hiring people or doing anything except for these early tutorial things. Now, what the game asks you to do is important. These are kind of the first steps you need to take, but just the order of operations and not being able to work on other things while you focus on this can be a little bit harmful, and I'll explain why, because it's not readily apparent why it's harmful. And it's has nothing to do with this little bit of expenditure ticking away in the background. But first, the feature here. Now here, it says that you only need 2 components. This is bad advice. The proper ratio, at least for the music streaming service, I haven't played with the other difficulty levels, but presumably those products have different ideal ratios. But for music streaming, you want a 2-to-1 ratio of design features to development features. So we actually want 3 components here. Now you might be saying, Pinstar, did you get things backwards? You took a bigger dev instead of design, but you're doing twice as many design than dev. There's a reason for that. I did not make a mistake here. But we're going to do this as a 3 first so we get a higher rating and a better ratio. And this is the reason why we have a higher dev, is we also need to work on infrastructure. I do agree with the tutorial in forcing you to add it to the sprint here. This needs to be worked on non-stop, at least until you get to level 6. Because it will, trust me, it'll help you out in the long run. All right, so let us fire away a couple of our sprints. If I remember correctly, this will take about 3 or 4 different sprints to finish this up. And the reason why you want to make sure you finish this quickly is so that when you get this both to level 1 and finish your first feature, that's when you're allowed to hire people. And hiring people quickly is very important. All right, we got our first backlog item, level 1 infrastructure, and one more sprint will get us that. And here's the thing, we're done with the technical part of this sprint. It's just the development, but all of the extra development time is now being poured into infrastructure, which is kind of what we want. So this is no time wasted here. All right, we got our first feature, and we can now hire people. Good. Let's take a look at what we got here. Candidates. Now we do want a sales and marketing person, and you know what? We can train them up. So I'm actually okay with them starting out at a 1 skill. Now they're going to start demanding a higher pay when we start training them up, but that's okay. A 5 attitude is fine. Ooh, I'm liking this, a 9 attitude and a design. Usually what I like to do for my first 2 hires, because you can only hire 2 other people, 1 design person and 1 sales person. This is why I was saying we don't have room for an ops person, but it's better not to worry about it otherwise. So that way, you know, because our founder has the extra ops skill, we can make do without one until we get to our next office. And we're back. Sorry about that. Okay, so let us hire our design person. Perfect. I would love another development person, but we don't quite have the... Oh wait, we didn't hire our salesperson? Let's get our salesperson. Office is full. Sorry. I would have, if we had 1 more room in the office, I would take it. But you want to hire more people as quickly as possible. Because, well, keeping them busy and having them help you power through this stage of the game is going to be important, because it'll allow you to start working on other stuff faster. And time is of the essence, and I'll demonstrate a little bit more clearly why once we get to a certain point. So let us pop out another feature. We're going to do the same thing here. And also, one of the things I'm going to be showing you probably in our next episode is my perfect suggested build for the physical layout of your stuff here. For now, we're just getting some stuff in place, but these are actually going to be part of a larger whole that I have planned out. So we will add this next little one, because you need a total of 3 different features to get that working for us. Meanwhile, our salesperson has nothing to do. All of our sales tasks are grayed out, so they physically cannot work on anything. Their time would be wasted. Would be wasted if we weren't training them. Now, when you're training somebody, they can't apply any of their skills to the sprint. So you need to be mindful of when you train people. That being said, since our salesperson isn't working on anything and won't be for a little while, let's start training them up so they can actually get some skill. Now they're going to start demanding some more salary. That's okay, because they're going to be worth it. All right, level 2 infrastructure get, and we're probably going to finish this in the next sprint. Boom, next feature done. You're going to get another one. And every time I train somebody up, yeah, I know you guys are bored. We'll start working on that. In fact, I'm gonna each give you a little bit more of a raise just to keep your happiness levels up there. We can tamper that back down with furniture once we level that up, but that's in due time. All right, so it's time for another feature, but this time we're not going to do another little rinky-dink. There's sort of a dichotomy, and it's a very hidden dichotomy between what types and more specifically what sizes of your features you put in. So this one, I'm going to make a big one, well, big relatively speaking, but we're still going to keep to that ratio, that 2-to-1 golden ratio. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we're still doing the 2-to-1 dev to design here. So we're still getting maximum ratio here. And this particular shape that I put this in, this isn't by accident. There's a very specific reason I did it like this, and there's a very specific reason I left a hole right there in the middle. Now this is going to take us longer to do, but there's a reason why we want to get our start mixing in some larger features in among the little ones here, which I'll elaborate in due time. All right, our salesperson, we continue training them. Give you a raise to keep you happy. And keep training. All right. We're going to be finishing our thing pretty soon. Yeah, you guys will be done here pretty quickly. Do I want to do another one of these? Yeah, we can do one more. If she's offline for one sprint, that's okay. Just getting her up to a higher skill. All right, we got the minimum viable product. So now is when our salesperson comes into play, because in order to launch our product, we need a single level of any of these. So this particular sprint, I'm going to add it to it, but she's not going to be able to work on it because she's got one more day of training, or one more week of training. But after that, she'll be firing on all cylinders. Now, as far as what type of ad, the effectiveness of ads are kind of, I don't want to say completely randomized, but there's some randomness to it. However, I've never been steered wrong by radio ads, which is one of the options under traditional media. Which makes sense, you know, music service, radio ads, you got people listening to stuff anyway. So that seems to be a pretty good early bet. And then once your market research kicks in, you can sort of narrow your focus into other areas if the research says stuff that's even better than radio. Right then, the other thing we want to do is, since we're not making any new features at the moment, our design space is going to be kind of wasted at the moment. And while our dev work is all going to be continuing to tick away at infrastructures, which is what we want, because we need to get this to level 6 as much as possible. We also want to start building our brand. And then here, let's start researching our load balanced here. Now, once you hit level 3, you can start researching load balanced. Very important that you do that ASAP. No reason not to. Yeah, I know they're running low. That's fine. And it's kind of funny. They say, oh, we have to start looking for investors. Yeah, I'd love to, but I'm not that point in the tutorial yet, game. I'm working on it. All right, so now that our salesperson is all set, I'll give you one more tick of wages here. Now you can see our progress on TV here is going to be a lot faster. All right, so radio ads, $1,000. Now, in the early game, here's my bit of advice for you here. In the early game, you do not want to go crazy with advertising spending, which at least not what I've found. This is actually going to be quite enough for a while. We don't want to keep leveling this up and spending more and more. You'll find yourself going very quickly bleeding dry of cash by doing. That's not to say that spending on advertising is not worth it. It is later on. But we have some more important things to take care of before we go gung-ho on advertising. More to the point is we need to launch our product. Now that we've gotten our marketing requirements done, we need to get our server online. Now I usually will start with a Concord because you should be at level 3 at this point, and if you don't already have topology researched, working on it like we are, so this will hold us for now because you only get one at the moment. Once we research the next one, then you're going to want to start adding fuchsia servers whenever you need to expand your capacity. And lastly, let's go with our pricing here. Now, this hint down here at the bottom, it's kind of misleading. The number, I've seen this ranged from like $20 per month to like $120 per month, but that seems to have no bearing on what the actual suggested prices are. So here's what I usually do, and then I'll wait for market research to help me hone in. Is our first tier, I do 25. Second tier, I'll do 50. Third tier, 75. And since this is music streaming, let's do domain. Oop. All these. New releases. There we go. Let's ship it. And now we can finally start working on these. You know, game, if you let me put these in the sprint from the get-go, we'd probably already have a level or two of the stuff done. But it doesn't. This is why we want to get through this part all that faster. And also, getting to this part, in addition to unlocking everything else, unlocks probably the most important, but the least pointed out feature of the game. And that's this. This box right here, you will live or die by. This box right here is so important and yet so underexplained that this is what probably the source of a lot of people's frustration. I hear you. Let me show you the way. Before we do that, let's get let's start working on investor there. Our two ops from our founder will help us with that. Now then, this box tells us a lot and yet so little. Now, first off, you can expand this and then hit the question mark to get a more detailed expansion. That's 2 mouse clicks away. Not exactly advertised. So this first one is the number of distinct features, in this case 3. This counts to the number of different, different entities that are considered features regardless of their size. Now, what this does, the net effect of this, is that your advertising brings in visitors. A certain percentage of those visitors will turn into signups. They'll be enticed by what you're offering. It'll look shiny and new and awesome. So they'll, you know what? I'll throw my credit card out there and I'll give your service a try. The more features, the more individual features, basically the more bullet points we have on our website of stuff our app can do, the higher the percentage of our visitors turn into signups. Now, you're never going to turn 100% of visitors into signups, but you'll just get more and more signups out of this. The stars are your are how basically awesome the quality rating of your features. Once they've signed up with your service, how enjoyable is it? How good is it? Do people who use your service feel like they're getting value? The answer to that question will determine your churn or lack thereof. When this bar is low, churn is high. When this bar is high, churn is low. Now, the way you can figure out your quality rating here is just by clicking on one of these, clicking on details, and seeing what your rating is here. So right now, our 2 little ones are at 3 each, and our big one is at a 9, which makes sense. You get one star per block. But you can increase this, and there's a little bit of a dichotomy here. It's actually a little bit easier to increase the rating of a larger feature like this than it is a smaller one. However, the smaller ones allow you to get a lot more different features out in the same amount of space and dev time. So there's kind of a dichotomy between the two. You want a mixture of bigger features that are fewer in number and lots of little ones to boost both of these numbers. Now, the final and most important part about this box is this. See these lines here? See how we're almost completely full on our quality rating here. These are always going down. Always. Or rather, the amount of either of these that you need to make the line be full keeps increasing as the game goes on. As time goes on, the demands of the market become harsher and harsher and harsher. And if you're not keeping up, right now, what we're offering right now, even once we start getting signups, we're probably not going to have very much churn. We'll have a little churn, but if we just sat here and just ran the game just forever, and never made any improvements or added anything, this bar would go down and down and down, and uh-oh, now we're churning more than we're signing up, and everyone's leaving our service because we're not innovating. We're not giving them more. Everyone wants more. So sitting on your laurels and playing too conservatively is ironically, the fastest way to fail at this game. And I think that's the source of a lot of people's frustrations. So what I'm going to show you in our next episode is playing aggressively. I'm also going to be showing you my favorite build here. Before we end here, I do agree with the suggested placements here. This is a wonderful placement. We want to take a nice big chunk out of it up here with our market research. That's the other reason why we want a highly skilled salesperson, because right now we don't want to continue working on these. We don't have the money to spend hand over fist on advertisements, and we're not going to really get a lot of value out of that spending. We'll keep the 1,000 that the game wanted us in there, but we're not going to go more than that. So all of our sales and marketing person's time is going to be spent on repeatedly doing market research. Dink. So yeah, we've got signups, we've got visitors, and look at that. Look at that. See how the bar, see how it used to be almost up there? Guess what? This 15 rating isn't quite as good anymore. It's still good. We're still in the green, but it's going to be worth less. And next sprint, all right, we got load balance just in time. And we got our fuchsia servers just in time. So let's help that out. But if we look back here at our sprint, it's worth even less, and it will continue ticking down. It is a never-ending struggle. But before we expand here, I will continue our expansion in our next episode. So if you guys like this episode and you want to see more like it, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave me a comment, good, bad, or indifferent. Your feedback's always welcome. So until next time, this has been Pinstar signing out. See ya!